We're also going to record this. So the presentation from tonight will be shared with you. The link will be shared with you. Are you guys able to see my screen okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you. I did have a presentation without my screen being shared one time, so always try to avoid that again at all costs. So welcome everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Ashley Tierney. I am a senior director on our research and impact team. I get the blessing to lead our small but ever so mighty membership and chapter operations. So Anna, do you want to introduce yourself too?
Absolutely. So I am the second member of the membership team. And Anna Patrick, and we've probably emailed at some point. I live in that membership inbox. So if you have an email there, you have either received a reply from Ashley or I. I am the manager of member relations and chapter relations. So nice to meet you guys. Thank you for coming.
All right, so tonight we're going to cover a ton of information. Again, all of this will be shared with you. We'll be sharing more resources with you. But the goal of tonight is to really give you some more details and help you guys understand SHPE, some of the operations that are going to be key for you as chapter leaders. Now, I know we're also just coming off of NELA, so some of you may have attended NELA this week, and there is going to be some overlap in content there. In one section in particular. So I'll definitely call that section out. But tonight we're going to look over some SHPE staff, your operations, resources, look at the upcoming events that we have, and then end with your responsibility as a chapter leader. So as we get started here, if you guys in the chat want to introduce yourself, so just give me your name, your chapter, what role you have in your chapter. So everyone invited tonight is a chapter leader and a chapter advisor. And then if you have a goal, I know this is very early in the year for some of you, but if you've thought about what goals you have, go ahead and pop those into the chat too, please. I'm missing, there's no little bubbles on here like there is on Teams to let me know people are typing. And Nelson, I saw you come off mute. Did you have a question?
No, it was accident.
Okay.
Or yeah, I do have a question. You said
Yeah.
write it in the chat or actually just
chat,
go ahead
or
and
if
say it.
you feel comfortable and you want to come off mute, we love to hear
Yeah,
voices
for sure.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. My name is Nelson Montalongo. I am the now advisor for the San Jacinto Community College SHPE chapter based out of Houston, Texas. Recently, recently approved by the board. So, and then one goal is to take about the goal is 2 or 3 students to the national conference in November.
That's amazing.
Nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet. Thank you for coming. Yes, everyone, please, if we can, let us know who you are, who's joining us tonight. We had over 20 new chapters that were just approved in our last board meeting. So yeah, it was a big one. So while you guys are dropping those introductions in the chat, we are going to cover, so again, I'm going to give this PowerPoint to everybody. What you'll notice is all of the QR codes are going to take you to different spots on our SHPE website. So I would say is every part of our website's important, but really calling notice to those key spots that are going to be really helpful for you. So one thing that I want to start off with is talking about the different offices functionally within SHPE and what that looks like. And why they're important for you as region or chapter leaders to know and understand. So I always start with research and impact because that's where my area is. So in research and impact, we have membership, chapter operations, regional leaders, programming, special interests, so SHPE stuff, for example, our academic partnership, we do the grant proposals and government relations. And so what you also see, and what really for me, for you chapter leaders is the key, are kind of those email aliases to reach us at. So if you have a membership question, again, like Anna said, you're going to be getting either Anna or I. And so each of those boxes tells you the email address of importance and then just lets you know, like, if this is your particular issue, this is what who you should be reaching out to about that. So Ship Connect, and we'll do a little demo on that guy. Some membership stuff goes there. If you have questions about chapter operations, any of that chapter stuff, it's going to go to the chapter inbox. The government relations, so we did Ship Hill Day last spring. And so if you're ever interested in engaging with Congress or any of our government relations projects, that's going to be the Ship on the Hill email. And then our research@ship.org is where all of our program stuff. So virtual STEM labs, mentorship, internship, much, much more goes into there. And then something that's also kind of a low-key benefit too for our chapter leaders is as you guys develop your plans and you guys start getting feedback on how things are going, if you guys want to reach out to our research office to get help creating surveys, they are very excited to help create surveys. So that's one branch of SHIP. Another, and then this also covers those key points of contact. So again, there's me, there's Anna. Dinah Martinez is really going to focus in on graduate members. Then we have Fernando, who's going to be, I know that there's a couple SHIP juniors on here. He's going to be a point of contact for our SHIP junior members and chapters, and then also supporting our RJRs. And then Susan's also going to be supporting our professional chapters and members too. So you have, no matter what chapter type you are, you have kind of a dedicated SHIP staff person to your chapter as well. And I will say too is that QR code there at the bottom will take you to a scheduler so you can book time with Anna and I. We love nothing more than to see your smiling faces. So I hope you all take advantage of that and get some time with us to go through questions and just connect and, find some time with staff. We love that. It's by far my favorite part of my day. Another office within SHIP is our external relations office run by Monique. So that's where our fund development comes from. Fundraising, marketing is in there, career services, scholarships now lives in there. And then they do career fair, and she's also leading our 50th celebration. So for you guys, especially as chapter leaders, as you start that fundraising piece, now that may or may not be happening in your first year, that's okay. That first year may just be about getting established and going. But as you guys get a little bit more experience as chapters, as you start to do your fundraising piece, that partnerships at ship.org, they will walk through a sponsorship brochure with you. They love to have time with you guys as well. So any fundraising questions you have, any ways that you guys have questions on how to do that, they can help with that. Our marketing team is going to be key for your chapter leaders because you're going to have chapter logos, but they can support with all kinds of messaging and standard marketing pieces. And so again, there's lots of different ways. So just review these. So when hey, I have a scholarship question, here's who I need to reach out to. The next office is our administration office run by Rhonda. Rhonda's amazing. I hope all of you guys get to meet her in person. So underneath the administration office, that's where our finance sits, information technology, the Mercado, and events. So if you guys are thinking about National Convention already, and I saw that in the chat, that's amazing. It is never too early to start planning about how you're going to get to National Convention. If you have questions about events, housing, any of that stuff, our regional events, you'll see those emails there. As you guys get starting to get registered for events, there is an email for registration specifically, and there's a team of people. So I know that is always where I want to funnel you guys so we can get those reviewed as quick as possible. For finance, that's where they can answer stuff about regional budgets, chapter pass-through forms, profit sharing, and bill.com. So all of those payment things are going to come from there. And then Mercado, if you guys need to get any chapter swag, you can do that through our Mercado as well. So the other group of very, very important people are regional leaders. So within each region, there is at least 4 regional leaders. So these are kind of your core people, and I see some of them on our call this evening. So every region will have a regional vice president. They're going to be supporting professional members and chapters, and they're also going to lead their regional team. We'll have regional student representatives. They're going to support undergraduate members and student chapters. Graduate representatives will do the graduate members and student chapters. And then we also have what we call regional junior representatives, and they are going to be really dialing in and supporting our junior chapters and Noche de Ciencias events. So I know that I have a few regional leaders on tonight. If you guys want to say hello quickly, just come off, say hello before we hop on. But these are going to be your key as chapter leaders, kind of your first line of defense, right? If you need help connecting into your region, you want to talk with someone about strategy for how to recruit members or something like that. We're always happy, but these regional leaders are volunteers who are there, who know what's happening in your region, and they're really well connected. So they are who I always encourage you guys getting connected with, and just maybe even having that hello introduction meeting. And then the way that to reach out to them is we have a very basic email. Sorry. We have a very basic email system. So it's going to be whatever region you're in is that pound or number sign. So like for region 1, it's rvp1@ship.org. So the key here is that you need to know which region you're in. And if you go to that QR code, that's going to take you to our region page, where it'll show you the region map, and then a little information on each of our regional leaders. So I see a couple regional leaders, right? So I do want to just give you guys a moment to say, give your name, and then let people know what region you're in so they can put a face to that name. Hugo, I see you, so I think you're getting called off mute first.
Hello. Go ahead, Hugo.
Oh, okay. I was like, I saw you unmuted, so let's let Carlos go first. But hello, everybody. Like Ashley said, thank you for being here. My name is Hugo Campo. I am the incoming regional junior representative for Region 6. So while I don't know if we have coverage from all the regions, I'm sure all of them are more than willing to give time on their calendar to help in any way. But I'm here. So yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos Gutierrez. I'm from Region 4. I'm also a junior rep, just like Hugo. So anytime you guys have any questions, we're always here.
See Eric on my screen too.
Hi guys, Eric Roman. I'm Regional Grad Rep 6, and I'm at University of Michigan.
And Yesenia. 6 is coming in strong tonight, guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Yesenia. I'm the RVP for Region 6. Yes, we're all here representing. Is there specific things that we have to say, Ashley? Sorry, I just joined.
Nope, you're okay. It's just calling out and saying hello to you.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'm super excited to work with each one of you. If you need anything and you're in Region 6, please reach out. Thank you.
Yeah. I think Ruby may have hopped off. Ruby still there?
I think she did hop off.
Perfect. She knew it. She knew she was getting called out. Is there anyone else that I didn't see on my Zoom screen? Okay. Well, again, all of our chapters have an amazing support system in those regional leaders. So I encourage all of you to take a moment and reach out to your regional leaders, just depending on what chapter type you are, and just acquaint yourself, let them know who you are, and then start thinking about those goals and how they can support you reaching those goals this year. So next, I'm going to hand it over to Anna to do a Ship Connect demo for you all.
Thank you, Ashley. All right, guys. So I am going to do a quick demo of Ship Connect. I'm going to share my screen, of course, before I start talking. And you let me know if you're able to see my screen. Awesome. Okay, so I want to say that I am working from our test site, which looks at about 95% like it does for you when you log on to your account. So You'll see there might be some differences, but for the most part, this is what your Ship Connect account profile member page should look like. And this is a test account, so this is not a real member, just FYI. We're going to pretend that I'm Alejandro Patiño today, right now. And so when you log on to your account, I want to just kind of highlight a few things that from a member perspective will be, I think, of great help to you. And I will wrap up with some things that are specific to chapter leaders, which is everybody in this group, but particularly the ones, chapter presidents and chapter advisors. But I think it will be to everyone's benefit to see what they can see ultimately as people in those roles. So when you log on to your account and you land on this page, there are a few things that you should know. You are able to make some edits yourself. For the most part, you're able to edit all of your personal information. There are some things that the system won't let you do, and that is where I come in to help you, and I'm always there for you for that. But let me just kind of walk you through it. So one of the, I would say the most important area of this page is this one right here, the one where it says member details, that little box in the middle. It has your member ID number in blue, and that is a number that you should know. Hopefully you memorize at some point. This is your unique identifier at SHIP. And so while we can have 5, 10, 20 members that share the name Alejandro Patiño, there will only be one that has the ID number that you see on the screen, 63007. So that is your unique identifier, and that's why it's so important. And we request it on pretty much everything that we ask you to fill out to identify you. You have your membership type, and over here where it says at the top where it says membership status, member, and then it says view member details, that actually on your site will show your expiration date, which again, that's why I say that's like the most important area of your membership account is a quick snapshot. Okay, so you can make edits. What do I mean by that? You click on the little paintbrush on the member details, and oh, there we go. Okay. It should have let me. Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. So if you click on that paintbrush, you're able to edit your address, edit your email address if you need to change it. A lot of times we change from being an undergrad with a university email address, and we change to a professional setting, and we want to use our personal or work one email. You can do that. The only thing that you're not able to change right now yourself is your phone number, but no worries, I can help you with that. You just need to email membership at ship.org, and I will help you. So that's one area where you can make edits. You can also edit here and upload and edit a photograph of yourself. And I don't know why this is giving me such a hard time today, but that's okay. So when you click on this, you should be able to upload a photo of yourself and add information. You can do a biography. You can even add social media channels if you have some that you want to share and put on your account profile. The other thing I want to show you is down here, the box and the bottom. If you look at my membership, if you click on that, of course, sorry guys, don't know why it's doing this. Give me just 1 second. Let me see if it'll let me. Let's see if it'll take. Okay, let's see. There we go. Perfect. I fixed it. Okay. So if you click on my memberships, it'll give you a more thorough look at your membership information. You have a history of your membership accounts. This is a dummy account, so you know that this is not a real member. So just know that this particular member was a member of the University of Oklahoma CHIP chapter during these dates, and then this is his current membership. So it gives you an idea of kind of your history and which chapters you've been affiliated with, and what type of memberships you've had and throughout your history at SHIP. All of that will travel with you. So we have. I want to show you where you are allowed, of course, to play around and look at all of these links and menu items and kind of explore. I encourage you to do that. I'm just going to highlight the ones that I think are more interesting or beneficial to you, should I say, sorry. And so you have my education degrees. A lot of times we want to edit this information. We graduated, we changed majors, whatever information changes, right? And you can go hit edit and input this information and save it. Now, the only thing you cannot do is delete this information because it is a required, these are required fields that we need for your account. And so you can edit, you can add a degree. If you added a degree to your resume or to, you've recently gained another degree, you can do that. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. My industry is for professional members, really. So if you're a student or a junior member, you won't have any information there. So for example, if I click here, there's nothing for me to do because this is an undergraduate member. So he doesn't have the permissions that, or the ability to add information here as a professional member would. The other one that I want to show you is change my password. If you have already logged into your account and you feel like you want to update your password and you want to change it, you can do so by clicking on that and adding your new password information and hitting change password. If you are trying to log into your account and you don't remember, in the login page, there is a button like most websites have where you have to log in with an account that says forgot password. You click on that and you're able to reset your password. It works without any problems, but like we know, technology sometimes is not on our side and there are glitches. So if you feel like you hit that and you never get the email that says, reset your password, or you're waiting for some sort of confirmation from the system, do not worry. Just send an email to membership@ship.org and I will help you. It doesn't take very long, but you are able to do that on your own if you need to. If it doesn't work, reach out, we can help. The other thing I want to show you right here is at the top, you see some menu items, and there's one titled resources. And if you click on that, that is the career center. And a lot of times we forget that this is here, but this is something that when you have time, you should explore. It not only has, the job postings that we have available, but also help and with resume writing and cover letters, etc. It also has some coaching information and some professional development opportunities there. So feel free to explore that. And you're only able to gain access to that career center if you're a member of SHIP. So only for you. And lastly, the last thing I want to cover is the My Chapters option right here at the bottom of the screen. When you click on My Chapters, you see the current chapter that you're affiliated with and your positions. This one states that I am a member, first and foremost, like all of us on this call, and I am a chapter president and a chapter key contact. What does that mean? Well, chapter president, pretty self-explanatory. That means I'm the president of the chapter. I was elected. I went through, the elections process, etc. And the chapter key contact designation is something that I or Ashley would do on the back end here internally to allow you give you the ability to add or edit members to your chapter board officers. And so here's what that kind of looks like. We have a summary of the chapter that you're a member of, and you can edit information for the chapter as well. So if the email address or for the chapter or the website for the chapter has changed, you can change it here. I do ask, if at all possible, that you not only change it here, but that you submit a new chapter leader contact form, which everybody on this call should be familiar with, but we'll post it on the chat just so you have an idea of what that looks like. That is a form that allows us to keep current, accurate information, contact information for the chapter. So as boards transition out and new ones come in, we have the contact information for the new chapter president, chapter advisor, etc. The next section that you see is chapter officers. Obviously, as I'm pretending to be Alejandro Patiño today, I am listed here, right, as chapter president, and my term will reflect the current fiscal year that SHIP is in. So in this case, our fiscal year, SHIP's fiscal year always begins on July 1st and ends on June 30th of the following year. So your chapter officers should have similar dates. At least the end date should be the same, 6/30/2025, because that is the fiscal year that we're in at the moment. The only chapter officers that generally have a different date are chapter advisors because they serve for multiple years. And those positions that serve for multiple years, if you already know that, you can have a different end date here. But for the most part, most chapter officers serve for 1 year, and therefore you will see the end date reflected as such. So what happens here? The next section that we see here is one that's titled Manage Members. If you are not a chapter president or chapter advisor that has the ability to be a chapter key contact as a designation, this will actually not read Manage Members, but it will read View Members, and you would not be able to click on any of the names that are listed there. So as a chapter key contact, you're able to assign in people, right? And so let's say that Alberto Alonso is my vice president. I can add him. Well, I click on his name, and then I click on assign position. I click on his title. So he's going to be the chapter vice president, and I can change this date, and I can also change this date right here. So I'm going to save it. And now if we go back to my chapters, he should appear, and there he is. Alberto Alonso, chapter vice president, and the dates that I added and that I meant to include, right? What else can I tell? Oh, this manage member section, this list of members are the considered active members. But if you noticed, and this is just a dummy account, there's a lot of expiration dates, 2021, 2020. So if this was an actual list, these would already be members that are expired and not active. Sometimes it takes a little bit for the system to purge that list, and we do try to do that once or twice a year so that you see accurate list of members. That doesn't mean that it erases the history of the membership. So if I were to clean this list in real time today, then a lot of these members would not even show on here, but we would keep a record, and they would still show historically as members of the chapter. You can email officers. You have the ability to email all the officers by clicking here, and anybody that is listed on their chapter officers, you can email at once, or you can email people individually by clicking next to their name, the email link next to their names. I think that is all I wanted to mention. Sometimes under chapter officers, you may see officers that show here without an end date. If they don't have an end date, because whoever added them at that time did not put an end date, you will not be able to delete them. I can help you with that, not a problem. You just email me those names of people that you want, officers that you need to remove from the list, and I can help you with that. Okay, so let me go back to my account and ask if there are any questions so far. And if I went too fast, I tend to do that. Sorry. No? Ship Connect is your pros, and we could take a quiz right now and everybody would get 100. I like it. We can share the work. Yes. Volunteers? No? Okay. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of show you a little bit of what abilities you have with Ship Connect. And I am going to go ahead and stop sharing for now and give it back to Ashley.
Thank you. All right, guys. So next up, we are going to cover tips for successful chapters. So a couple lenses of tips and things that we have for you as chapter leaders. And so make sure as leaders that you're leading your chapter as a democracy. And so it's going to be really important as chapter leaders and as chapter presidents especially, that you never agree to something without talking to your board first. Nothing should be done alone. You're going to work as a team to lead your chapter. And so those decisions should always be made together. And if you're ever unsure of something, that's also a great time to tag your regional leaders in and ask for advice, and ask if they, what they might think, what they might have done. The next thing is always making sure that you set goals and clear expectations for your board. and making sure you leverage those skills. So really taking the time to get to know your e-board and knowing where everyone's strengths and weaknesses are so you can make sure and build the strongest board possible. When you do meetings, so we also encourage you to meet as a board individually, as well as having your general body meetings. At both of those, take meeting, have agendas, take notes, and then just making sure you're sharing those outwardly. And then again, I hinted a little bit at surveys. I am a survey person, tried and true. But something that's really important as you guys recruit and retain members is making sure that you include in your plans and your goals how you're going to formally and informally get feedback. So formally could be sending out an official like survey. What did you think of the event? Did you learn? Did you do what you wanted to do? And informally could just be chatting after the event as a chapter and just asking questions and kind of conversing about it. Another thing that's important for you as chapter leaders is that you understand when to escalate issues to your chapter advisor and your regional team too. So that's a really great moment to tag into that regional leadership team. If you're unsure, if you need additional support, they are always there. For example, a chapter felt like there was someone was being disingenuous with their chapter elections and not following the right protocols, reach out to your regional leaders. They can help guide you with that. If you are a college or junior chapter, making sure chapter advisors are always in the loop. And then you guys all recently just created those chapter bylaws. You were all coached to create those in a way that they should withstand time, and that you weren't super specific and say like, we're going to have our meeting on February 12th of this year, but saying we're going to shoot for how this, that, and the other. But it is going to be really helpful is that you guys, especially after you complete your first year and you understand and you kind of have a feeling for what it is like to be a chapter, that you review those chapters in your bylaws annually. Next slide is going to be, so I asked our chapter leaders as they were going out this last year, what one piece of advice they had for our new chapter leaders. And so this is like high level. I got lots and lots of responses, and like the common theme was like teamwork. So making sure as a board that you're working as a team, making sure that you have regular e-board meetings, chapter advisors are in those meetings and supporting. Overall across the board, it's always planning, communicating within your team, within your members, as chapter presidents, especially is delegating those tasks. Not one single person, again, should be doing and holding all of their responsibilities. So another great piece of advice I saw that I really liked was just creating a master sheet with the tasks, which would be similar to your chapter management tool. And track responsibilities. So let's say you want to have a recruitment event, you're going to have a table at your union, and this is what the tasks and who's responsible for them. So as you guys build your chapter plan, it's just a way for you to really specifically keep track of what needs to be done and who needs to do what. And then succession planning. So it may feel like you guys are all just starting your year now, but it's never too early to start thinking about what next year is like. And so as you guys build your chapters, as you guys meet members, recruit members, start looking for those future leaders of your chapter and engaging them now. So inviting them to e-board meetings next spring. And so just planting those seeds and supporting your next wave, your next cohort of leaders is going to be great. And the other thing that's so important as you're starting out is really thinking about you're setting a foundation for a strong chapter. So when you guys create tools, those tools can hopefully be used for future chapter leaders. So those task lists, every time we have a tabling event, now we know here's the 10 things we need to do. So that's a really great way to really think through the stuff that you guys are doing this year. Another piece is just being flexible. Things do not go as planned. That's going to happen all the time. And so just being flexible, making the most of what you can, having fun while you're doing it, being a chapter leader, starting a chapter, being a foundational, being a founder of a chapter is an amazing responsibility, but it should be a time that's so much fun for you to build your SHPE chapter. And then just don't ever stop asking questions. Ask questions of your chapter advisors, ask questions of your peers. Again, I can't say this enough. Your regional leaders are a key part to your success. So they are all so responsive. You can ask them questions. And then just always be confident. You guys are here and you're leading for a reason, right? And so you've opted into this. So just be confident in those decisions and working as a team. And I pulled this next one is super, super long, and it's a quote, and I'm not going to read it off to you guys. I really hope that you guys give you all a moment to read this now and then also when we're there. But this quote in particular just really stood out to me as I was reading through their advice for you as next year's chapter leaders and advisors. I hope that is as moving for all of you as you read that as it was for me. It just speaks so much about what we just talked about in those steps for success, but how important this is, but how much fun it should be, and how important this role is for every part of our lives right now. So next, we're going to dive into chapter resources, but we've covered a lot of information. I do want to pause again for a moment and just see if anyone has any questions before we dive into our chapter resources. Quiet crowd tonight. That's okay. So chapter resources, QR code is going to take you to the chapter resource page. I can't emphasize this enough. Please bookmark this page on your computers, just making sure and frequently go back to it. We have spent in the last year a lot of time curating resources tailored to specifically to your needs as chapters. And so at the very bottom of the chapter resource page is an important link section. And so on the important links, you're going to see stuff about chapter reporting, programs, membership, marketing stuff. So it's kind of your hub for, I want to think, mostly anything that you could need as a chapter leader. And I will say too, if there's something that you're like, I really wish I had X, Y, and Z. For example, last weekend, someone was like, there's not a budget template. I'm going to work on creating a budget template. That slipped our mind, and that's such an easy thing for us to create for you. So as you guys look through here, if there's ever something that you need help creating, we've thought of a lot of that, but there's always more that we can do for you. So don't ever hesitate to let us know if there's something that you need. There's a document, a template that we could provide for you to support you. We've also created a YouTube channel, SHPE 101 for chapter leaders, that's going to really give you each of the videos between 3 and 5 minutes. So nothing is a long time, but it's going to be really high level things that you need. An overview of SHPE, an overview of best practices for recruiting, an overview of best practices for retaining your members. How do I create a survey that works? So you're going to see those 22 videos are going to cover everything from budgeting to government relations to programs. So a lot of really great quick information for you there. And then on that page, you'll also find a PDF of our chapter leader workbook. So no matter how you like to consume information, it's going to be there on that page for you to support kind of those key chapter operations as you guys take off as chapter leaders this year. So related to that, we are going to host chapter leader monthly training sessions. So when it says SHPE teaches SHPE, what that means is we actually have identified or will be identifying chapters that are like just exemplary at all of these different topics, and they're going to be doing some best practices, tips, and possibly doing some panel version 2. So you guys get to continue learning from your peers on best practices as a chapter leader. So we'll kick off this fall with recruitment and marketing, going into engagement. We'll take a break for November because that's convention and holidays time. My junior chapters don't have to worry about chapter reports. So you get to take a pause for that. But my collegiate chapters and professional chapters, you guys are able to do chapter reports. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a few minutes. But then we'll also then go into in the spring retention, elections, and transition. Now, something that's not on here, and I know there's quite a few chapter advisors. My chapter advisors, we also do a chapter advisor specific meeting, one in the fall and one in the spring. So September 20th is our next chapter advisor fall meeting. So our new CEO, Susanna, will kick off that meeting quickly for a few minutes. And then we'll do some SHPE updates and just some other timely information for you as chapter advisors. So again, please join us for those. And I always will share recordings of everything we want everyone to access, but we know that joining us and asking real-time questions is going to be the most beneficial. So we hope to see you guys at some of those events this coming year. And then we're going to cover now. Oh, yeah, of course.
So when it comes to these, how will you be communicating all these different sessions?
So they're going to go on, that's a great question. So they will be on our website. So they'll be on the chapter resources website. I'm working on getting those added in their own section. And then Anna's also, we're tag teaming this, and on our SHPE calendar of events, they'll also be on the SHPE calendar of events. And I will also in the chapter team. So we have a Teams channel for chapter leaders. I'll also put reminders in there too.
Okay.
So please join us for all of them. Yeah. I will get it to you guys in every single way possible. It'll go out in SHPE Nation too.
Okay. I guess, I mean, just what I thought was maybe lean on the each regional team and have us communicate it to our chapters in our region. So
yes,
if I'm sure there's a list of all the chapters. If there is, I don't know where it is yet, but I mean, I'm happy to look further or ask where it is, but a list of all the chapters per region. And then I'm sure I'm sure the reports have like the contact info of those leaders, and then we can make that plug.
Yes, and as regional leaders, we absolutely, all of that communication reminders helping us get, especially our chapter leaders, to stuff like that is perfect. So yeah. I promise all of you, this will not be the last time you hear about these. You'll hear about them a lot. And then, so chapter operations, we're going to cover some different pieces that are important for our chapters here. So first off, as chapter leaders, I'm guilty of this as well, and I'm a staff member. I unsubscribed from SHPE Nation. As chapter leaders, if you've ever unsubscribed, please make sure and resubscribe. Now, that is going to be key for you, so that way you know the important things that are happening at SHPE, right? And so I know my marketing team did a comparison list for the chapter presidents and vice presidents who had unsubscribed, and she sent a nice reminder. So just know that's a key way for us to communicate with you as chapter leaders too. And so just make sure every week when you get it, just at least skim the headlines. And then we are really active in Instagram and LinkedIn, so definitely take advantage. There is a texting service too, but really primarily those three: SHPE Nation, Instagram, or LinkedIn. And then the other pieces that are important for you. So Anna talked a little bit about the chapter officer job form. I just skipped to number 2. Let me go back up to number 1. So things that are going to be really important for you as chapter leaders, information that we need. So first of all, is making sure your contact information on SHPE Connect is recent. So hopefully you guys are all good. Anna just showed you how to update your contact information. Now that SHPE Connect information, that's how we communicate with you as individuals. So that's where Ship Nation's going to go to. That's where you're going to get different updates. That chapter officer jot form, that's again what triggers Anna to like get in there and change who's the president in Ship Connect. But that's also the database that we use when I'm like, hey, I need to tell my chapter leaders about our monthly training or reminders. So just making sure we just need one chapter officer form for your entire chapter. So just coordinate with your chapter. And then lastly, if your chapter ever needs to receive payment from SHIP, you have to have a bill.com account. So that is going to be especially important for our professional chapters because you guys will get chapter profit shares. So make sure, again, that's one where I only need one per chapter, but that will kickstart that process for SHIP to get that payment portal set up on your behalf. So again, I go into this because I can't tell you enough. Bill.com is how we give money to your chapter. So if your chapter gets a prize, if it gets a donation, or if you're a professional getting it, right now, under half of our active chapters have Bill.com accounts. So just making sure you get that process started, and then we'll get that set up so that way, let's say Honeywell is like, I want to donate money to one of our chapters, we can just quickly get money sent either to your bank account or a check. So it's just key. The quicker we can have that set up, especially as you're kicking off. A really helpful piece to that is if you have, that tip we said when you set up your chapter is like have general email addresses, permanent email addresses that you hand off between chapter leaders. And so like that example, shippresidentuh@gmail.com, as they share that password and email along different leaders, they'll always have access. So we don't have to transfer stuff. So that's a really nice way to do that, but make sure and get that bill.com account set up. Now, the other thing that's available for chapters are Nota de Ciencias grants. So SHIP has reimbursement money, and then we're getting our seed money started too to support pre-college events. So professional chapters, collegiate chapters, if you're working to do an outreach event, my SHIP junior chapters, you guys can use this funding. You can kind of see how that goes. There's a lot more information on the Nota de Ciencias page, but just know that there is some funding there specifically around outreach events.
I have a question about this one.
Yes.
So the UIC chapter once did like the other Ciencias, but we couldn't hit the 50 mark because we were looking for, we partnered with the high school and we did it, but we did it during a classroom setting. So typical classroom setting would maybe have like 25 students. So would there be a way to get and I think 25 is a good number for like participation when it comes to like first time events. So would there be a way to get like funding for a minimum of 25 participants?
I think that's definitely a possibility. So I will give that feedback to who administers our grant, and they can kind of look at some of the data around the events and figure out if that's a good path forward. But I agree. I think that's a really good piece of feedback.
50 seems like a big number, but when you're in a room with 50 people, you're like, oh, it's not that many people. But like when you're trying to compile and get 50 people together, you're like, oh wait, this might not be.
It adds up fast. And the other thing I think for Noche stuff too is you can think about how you're impacting parents. So if parents are there too, you can get to 50. There are ways to get to 50 too. So what I would recommend is just also reaching out to us, and we can kind of help coach and talk through stuff like that too.
Okay.
We want to give this money to you guys more than anything. So we want to make it easy and accessible for you.
When we did it, during school hours, so that was one thing.
Okay.
So it was a way to like kind of make sure the students were there because that was like our target audience.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, definitely reach out and we can kind of coach through and talk through and see how we could get that to you. So And that's true for everybody. Please reach out. Again, that is a fund that we have available. It's ready to go, and for you to start. I think the grant application will go live August 1st. The next thing I want to talk to you guys, so this is for our chapter presidents and vice presidents this year. We are going to have a chapter leader mentorship cohort just for presidents and vice presidents. We're going to hopefully expand that to other roles, but we're just piloting it this fall. So if you're interested in participating, you want to sign up by August 19th, and that QR code will take you in to sign up. We'll do some training, but the idea is that you'll get paired one-to-one with a prior chapter president or prior vice president. So you can get some guidance, and especially for you brand new chapters too. I think this is an especially wonderful opportunity. So if you're a chapter advisor on the call, I hope that you share this with your presidents and vice presidents. But we're really looking to give them an opportunity to connect in with peers who are relatively recently in those roles, to really give them some real-time guidance as they're starting off with their chapters. The other thing that we're doing this year that I'm really excited about is we are opening up the SHPE calendar to events that are hosted at our chapters that are virtual or hybrid. So again, this is your first year, you may not be having enormous events yet, and that's perfectly fine. But as you guys grow, if there's an event that you're really excited about, that's virtual or hybrid that you want to invite other SHPE members to, there will be a form just to give us some information about it. And then essentially we'll get it on that Familia calendar, and then anyone that's interested would be able to join in. So I see this in particular, some of our professional chapters have absolutely stellar, all of our chapters have stellar programs. I think about how it would be so nice from someone in Region 3 to attend something that Region 7 just happened to be hosting that really meets their needs. So this is really a way for us to amplify the impact that we're having. And if you don't have to make it something hybrid or virtual, if it just happens to be, then that's an amazing way that we can spread the great work out to other members of our Familia. Next, all chapters, and I need to make the request, so I haven't done that yet, my apologies, but all chapters will have a chapter specific logo created for your chapter, so that you can use that however you need to. But in the meantime, also on our website, you'll find information about the SHPE brand, all of our general SHPE logos, the region specific logos, program logos, all of that exists there. So if your chapter wants to do SHPE swag of some sort, you have information on what you need to do about that, what you need to do in terms of what that looks like, the SHPE colors, all of that stuff. All right, before I go into the chapter program, I saw one thumbs up. Any other questions before I get into that?
I'm a huge fan of QR codes,
Okay.
but when it comes to things that I like to see on a big screen, I think it might be appreciated to have links under the QR codes too. So I don't know if that's possible. I wouldn't really go on the SHPE website if I'm trying to get some information like on my phone. Probably like I probably want to search that on my laptop. So like when this is shared, would it be possible to like add the link under the QR code too? Maybe.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so next topic is our national chapter program. So this junior chapters do not participate in the national chapter program. This is going to be specific for our collegiate and professional chapters. So the first component of our national chapter program are what we call chapter check-ins. So chapter check-ins are done once a quarter, so once every 3 months. There's going to be one link that you can find on your chapter resources page. And so the deadlines are set, they're already ready to go. The piece that I need you guys to make sure and hear me is that you do have to do all 4 of them to maintain active status. So the goal of those check-ins is to do a pulse check. So I'm going to ask you, do you have an active chapter advisor? Do you have a bank account? I'm going to ask you hopefully easy yes or no questions so I can get an idea about what what the health of your chapter is. And so they mostly, when I create them, they say it takes 45 minutes. And some of them do require some additional stuff. So I would say realistically plan an hour to 90 minutes most to get those done. The like outline of the questions exists in PDF format, so you can always check that out too and get an idea of what those questions look like. But what those do is that actually lets us identify like those monthly trainings that we talked about. Those became from the chapter check-ins. It just helps us identify the gaps where you guys need help, where you need assistance, and lets us help fill that gap. So the next component, so check-ins required, reports are optional. So if you want to participate in reports, chapter reports, they're optional for everybody. Everyone is invited to do them, but you have to do them if you want to be eligible for an award. And so new chapters, again, you're welcome to participate. It could be a great way for you to get feedback. It's totally up to you, but I know for some new chapters, it feels like a very big burden. So focus on your chapter check-ins, and if you want to do reports, please do. But what I'm looking for when I look at your reports is I want to see that you intentionally set goals, you executed on those goals, and then a reflection on what you did and how you can improve going forward. So for me, it doesn't matter if you had 5 events or if you had 50 events. It just matters is that you're showing that like full cycle of event planning, execution, and reflection. We no longer require letters of recommendation. And then those deadlines will be in January and June. There's templates. All of that information lives in chapter resources, but the sections are going to be a highlight page. So tell me the top 5 accomplishments, information on what you did around recruitment, information on what you did around engagement, and then what the outcomes of your chapter are, where your members being successful, and then a call out for success. And then if you do all 4 check-ins, you do both of those reports. Depending on your score, you would be eligible for a chapter award. So gold chapters have a combined score of 90% on their reports, and silver is 80%. So the goal, though, is that small, brand new chapters can still write a good report as long as they're following that process, and they would still be just as eligible for long-standing, enormous chapters too. So I like to call this out and show this. This just shows us, so the one part of our chapter check-ins asks for you guys to tell me how many events you had. And so just looking at this is from the chapters that completed their reports last year. We had, what I love more than anything is almost 200,000 hours supporting SHPE's mission. Like, that's amazing to think about the impact and the power that happens at our chapters. And so just giving you this is a pretty quick highlight of like some of the stuff that we'll ask too. So as you host events, just keeping track of how many events you have and how many people are attending. But just looking at the power and how amazing our chapters truly are, thinking that there were almost 6,000 events at our chapters this year alone. So. All right. Next section is our upcoming events. So we have some fun things on the horizon here. We are at the tail end of celebrating our 50th anniversary year. So our Minneapolis Fiesta is in August. Our Chicago Fiesta is in September, but it's already sold out. And then October will be in Atlanta, and then November will be in Anaheim for National Convention. So if you happen to be in some of those areas and you're interested, definitely go. Students get to go for free. So if you are a student on the call, take advantage of those. Also, the big thing everyone is always the most excited about is National Convention. So National Convention this year will be October 30th through November 3rd in Anaheim. So there's a career fair if you've never been, workshops, there's competitions which provide prize money, lots of networking, their Mercado, so lots and lots of awesome things that are happening at National Convention. It's going to start, registration will start Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., which is awesome. Key things for you, career fairs are going to be Friday and Saturday this year. And then we'll have that closing ceremony on Saturday. All of this stuff is available on our website, but just pointing out, I know people are already planning and getting ready to be in Anaheim. So just a little high level information. Big thing here, so substantially cheaper before November 15th for all of our member types. So just making sure as you guys are getting kicked off, if you are hoping to take yourself and members from your chapter to convention, as much as you can, getting yourselves organized and those registrations purchased before they go up a little bit. So just stay on top of those dates as chapter leaders. We do room blocks as well that you can take advantage of. Kind of shows you, you'll be able to see information when you do your registration, which should open in 2 weeks on August 1st officially. But then also just a little information on airports. So you guys can start that planning now. And then the other thing we have coming up here, so we just finished NELA Part 1 last weekend, which is our Certified Chapter Leader program. Can anyone virtually raise your hand if they attended last weekend's event that wasn't required to? Okay, so I would highly recommend, oh, there were a couple people that were there. That's awesome. I would highly recommend anyone that is able to join for next year. A lot of the information we just covered will still be, we are covering tonight, but it will still be really helpful for you as chapter leaders to make sure and attend next year, or make sure your e-board attends next year. We have President's Summit coming here in a few weeks as well, which is an in-person. So again, just having that on your radar. Registration, I think what we've heard, I don't know if it's officially closed yet for President's Summit. It may or may not be officially closed. We are in the final countdown for that for sure. And so just having those on your radar for next year's chapter leaders, I think will be really important. And that's the last one. So this last part here is going to cover accountability and liability as a chapter leader. So I did see at least a couple hands for chapter leaders that were at CCLP this weekend. This is the exact same stuff that Susanna covered. So you are 100% welcome to pop off if you don't want to listen to this again. But what this does, this covers, there are implications of being a chapter leader. So just want to make sure that you understand what's the legal part of being a chapter leader and stepping into this role. So what we really need to do is step back and just always, as you plan and as you lead your chapter, is just make sure, and as a chapter leader, your primary responsibility is to make sure that every activity and operation is going to align with SHPE's purpose and mission. And so just making sure building familia, supporting Hispanics in STEM, that has to be the core of everything that you guys are doing. And so just reminding again, changes lives by empowering the Hispanic community to realize its fullest potential and to impact the world through STEM awareness. So what I also, this is other really good reminder and tip for our board members is chapter presidents, when you do those board meetings, start your meeting by reviewing the mission. And so it's always front of mind as you are planning and doing your strategy. And so again, whatever you guys do, whatever events, activities, always needs to tie back in supporting our mission. And so the goal, the reason SHPE chapters exist is because they are here to help us maintain and grow what we're doing and supporting that mission. So just always think back, is what we're doing, what we're accomplishing with this, is that supporting the mission with what we're doing. So for all of our leaders, all of our volunteer leader roles, there's three different things that are really important. The volunteer leadership liability essentially says is that you just have to do your duties in good faith. So we're going to dive into each one of these in a little bit more detail. So duty of care, more or less, is just saying that you need to make sure that you are informed, you ask questions, and then when you make a decision that you're doing so based on information and questions, and that you're not just making decisions that don't align with SHPE. So then the next is that duty of loyalty. And so again, being loyal to SHPE, going in and thinking about our mission. So you must have allegiance when you make those decisions. So again, always have SHPE in its mission in the forefront of your mind. That's what should guide your decision making. And so just know that you should always be using the information. So as chapter leaders, you guys may get information, like your chapter list, for example. So just make sure that you're not using that for personal gain. So don't send them, information and requesting things. Just always, whenever you're contacting your chapter, making sure that it's focused on SHPE, focused on the mission. And then also making sure you're following code of conduct and ethical behavior is going to be key here. And then the last duty that's important is obedience. So again, just being faithful to that organization's mission. So time and time again in this part of the conversation is that you have to make sure that you follow our mission, that you are obedient to the mission, you're loyal. Essentially, SHPE's mission is going to be that guiding light for all of us. And so just making sure that you're consistent with our goals and mission. And the big part for this duty of obedience is just making sure you're using your funding correctly too, that aligns with the mission. So thinking about this is important for you as chapter leader is that you can be held responsible if you do self-dealing transactions. So for chapter leaders, that could look like having an event at a conflict of interest place, right? Like you get some benefit for having an event somewhere, a personal benefit, making or allowing distribution of charitable assets. So if you have something that belongs to SHPE, giving it away. And so essentially just making sure that you're doing stuff that is within your scope and within SHPE's mission. So again, being proactive, being informed, and aligning with our mission is going to be key. So just think about that you're always representing SHPE, especially when you're in your SHPE gear, and being very aware of that you're a SHPE member, a representative of SHPE when you're in social and professional interactions. So when you're having events, making sure that you are being SHPE, you're the voice and face of SHPE. And then when you think about as you're out engaging with your community, that you're leading by example as chapter leaders. And again, making sure that it's aligned with our strategic plan and our mission. So last part, communicating. So making sure that we're professional at all times. Remember, we are the face of SHPE. And so thinking about things that are in writing and social media are out and available. So again, being professional, making sure what we're communicating aligns with our SHPE mission. And so when we think about our social media, and this is a place where I've had to do some coaching in this last year, is that your voice should always, especially if you're using your SHPE social account, it should always be aligned with SHPE. And so remember that SHPE doesn't take political stances on anything because of our 501(c)(3) status. And so I know especially important as we go into this election year, you cannot say your chapter stands with X, Y, and Z. Your chapter supports this candidate. We cannot have that happen. Individuals, as you guys are all amazing people. You can individually say that, but it's really important that your chapter does not say that stuff because of that status. So we have to protect together that nonprofit status, and that all comes back to not being able to be tied to a political party. So we always have to be neutral. So it's important. I see chapters sometimes taking stances on things with their social media, and we are all incredible people who have strong feelings about things. And you 100% can do that as an individual, but just make sure that it's not your SHPE chapter social media making those statements. So that's going to be important. Regional leaders will help us all keep an eye for those things because, again, that's going to help protect our nonprofit status. So, and worst case scenario, at any point in time, if a chapter does something not following these guidelines, they may be terminated as a chapter by our bylaws. So I hope that never happens, but that is a possibility, and that's why we have to have the talk about the legal liability part of being a chapter leader. So not the most exciting topic to end our chapter orientation on, but a really important one. So I'm certain that all of our chapter leaders going into this year, again, be confident, use your regional leaders. If you are ever unsure if you can post something, please don't ever hesitate to ask us. We're happy to give guidance on that. On that same note, if you ever notice someone else's chapter posting something, you're like, I don't think that's okay, just let us know. Again, we're not telling, we just want to make sure and all work together to protect SHPE's nonprofit status. That's the most important takeaway out of that liability part for, I hope, for all of you. Now, this has been a really long time. I've enjoyed every minute of it. What questions do you guys have for us now? And it's been keeping the chat going. Thank you. I didn't realize it was down. Any other questions that someone wants to chat about?
I was gonna ask earlier. So I know as individual chapters, we reach out, or at least I did when I was on the chapter. We reached out and looked for funding from sponsors, right? Like from corporate sponsors. But SHPE has sponsors already, like on the national level. So like, does there need to be like? So I know there's like a lot of like maybe like paperwork when it comes to a SHPE, when it comes to a university chapter aligning itself with a sponsor. But if they're already like a sponsor, would they be able to like align that? And I don't know what the paperwork, instead of doing that again with the build account, would they be able to just provide the funds that way instead of like starting from
Possibly. So it depends. I think there's a couple different pieces of what you're asking about. I think at the end of the day, I would recommend reaching out to the partnership at ship.org. Always, they can definitely help navigate those partnership sponsorship questions. But let's say SHPE has what's called a chapter pass-through, and this is true for any chapter type. That we can, let's say your chapter doesn't have a 501c3 status, but a donor does require that. The donor can give the money to SHPE and then we give it to the chapter. So that's one process too. And that doesn't have to be someone that's already an established partner, but that can help alleviate some of those pain points too. So absolutely, if anyone needs help navigating, if you have a partner secured or need help identifying how to do partnerships for funding, we're always, again, that partnerships at ship.org. They are happy to hop in and help and have those conversations with chapters too.
So how would a chapter not be considered a 501c3 if it's SHPE? Like,
because our SHPE's 501c3 status doesn't transfer into our individual chapters. And so individual chapters can apply for their own individual 501c3 status. And several professional chapters have, however, it is pretty intensive. I think it costs us several $100s. It's, I think, under 500, it's between 3 and 5, I think. And the biggest hurdle to that is that there is pretty intense reporting, financial reporting requirements for 501c3s. So that's why we have that chapter pass-through chapter donation process, so that we can help. It's not, I want to call it a loophole, but a way for us to facilitate getting money from sponsors into those chapters that may need that 501c3 status. Sorry, there's a legal way to say that our 501c3 status doesn't go down, but I don't know the legal term, so I'm sorry. That's a really good question, though. Any other questions this evening? All right, everyone. Well, thank you all for joining us and spending such a big chunk of your evening with us. I will get a couple of those recommendations added into this PowerPoint. Thank you for those. I really appreciate it. Get this more usable for everybody. We'll get the PowerPoint out to you here pretty soon. And as soon as I get that Zoom recording, I'll get that out to everybody as well. But we hope to see you all in our monthly chapter training. Thank you all for joining us. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Both
everyone.
take care.
Have a good night.